Okay, alright, so hi, I'm Francine, and here I am at my mom and dad's house, and we're going to do something that we do every Christmas, and that's make a ton of fudge. Get a cube of butter and make sure that you've buttered the bottom of your pie pans. We start on low. Now, for anybody who's impatient, the first part of fudge making can seem very boring, but I just put it on, not even low medium. Okay, this is medium, that's too high. Low, somewhere around low 2 or 3. So this is where we're going to put 3/4 of a stick of butter. I toss it in the pan. Go ahead and you'll see what I do. And I break it up into pieces so that it will melt easier. And we want it to melt slowly. Okay, so if you look in here, I cut up the butter into smaller chunks so it makes it easier to melt. And I just pour the milk in there. I don't put the sugar in yet because what I want that butter to melt first. So it's going to take a while because it's on low heat, but this is where I don't want to scorch the milk. So I got 2 cups, 2 of the 3 cups in. I'm going to add the third. Constantly stirring, constantly stirring. It actually helps to have somebody assist you when you make fudge because sometimes you forget to do something in advance, and that way you can keep stirring while you have them fetch something or have them prepare. I usually have one of my nieces or my daughter get me a bowl with cold water because we're going to boil this. We're going to get this boiling to what's called the soft ball stage. So this is the part that's very critical, is that you have it on low heat and you're stirring constantly. Okay, so we're getting to now a critical stage. So notice how our sugar, milk, and butter mixture is thicker. And as I stir, I don't know if you notice, but notice how these little bubbles pop out? The little bubbles are popping out. We're getting very close to the boil stage. And as I go around, you'll see little bubbles on the edges. We're getting very close to the boil stage. Now, because I knew we were getting close to the boil stage, we're not quite there. We're also getting ready for the last, what I call the last 6 minutes. The last 6 minutes of the fudge making is very critical. So as we get closer, and once it starts to boil, we're going to actually do 2 things. We're going to time it for 5 minutes, and we're also going to use this little bowl of water here to help us judge whether the fudge is the consistency that we want. Because it won't be exactly 5 minutes. Sometimes it'll just be 4 minutes that I want to cook it. But the bowl of cold water is going to help me determine whether it's at that softball stage. Alright, now we are starting to boil. Look at this. I'm not stirring, but now this is boiling. And in just a moment it'll be a rolling boil, meaning that it's just a rocking and rolling. So I'm going to go ahead and, even though it's not a rock and rolling boil, I go ahead and I start my timer right now because I don't want to overcook it. So when 3 minutes have passed, I'm going to start testing. I'm going to start doing my softball test. Now, I know my fudge is not ready, but I'm going to show you what a softball stage looks like, or what it doesn't look like. I drop a drop into the bowl. If I push this ball around, it kind of breaks up. It looks kind of granular. When it's a softball stage, it'll form a ball and it'll stay that way, but it won't be hard. We're at 1 minute 42, so we're very close to being done. Look at this beautiful, beautiful candy. By the way, this is super, super hot. Do not be tempted to put the spoon in your mouth or to put your finger in here. This is very, very hot. Now I'm going to put I'm just going to drop a drop in there. And notice, look at this. See how it just formed and held its shape? You see that? Looks like, ooh, I love that. So even though we are at 1 minute to go, I'm actually going to stop my boiling mixture now because I know it's going to continue to cook. And as I said before, I would rather have the fudge just a little undercooked than overcooked. Because we tend to put our fudge, well, first of all, we eat it right away, or sometimes we'll put it in the freezer or the refrigerator and eat it within the next 24 hours. So I'm going to go ahead and stop that now. Stop this. I'm going to remove it from the heat immediately. All right. Now, first thing I add is marshmallow cream. This is all I add, just one gigantic spoonful. I do not add the whole jar because I don't like a fudge that's too light. If you add the whole jar of marshmallow cream, the fudge to me, it looks a little brown rather than dark chocolate. Okay? Alrighty, so we've added the marshmallow cream. We took our mixture off of the heat once it reached the soft boil stage. Added the marshmallow cream and it melts very quickly. Remember, this is very hot candy mixture. So be careful, don't put your fingers in there, try not to spill. We're beating down those marshmallow blobs. And then we're going to add our chocolate chips. And for a single recipe, 1 package of chocolate chips is all you need. So we're going to add those slowly and stir as we go. Just add them all in at once. And so now we're going to stir. And those chocolate chips just melt right in there. Keep stirring. Gently scrape the sides to get that mixed in really well. And this is thick, so you really have to use your muscles. Look what a nice consistency it is. You're going to be able to pour that pretty soon. And while it's in this stage, see, isn't that pretty? Don't forget now is we're going to add our vanilla. So if you have a really good quality vanilla, 1 teaspoon of vanilla is all you're going to need. So this vanilla is okay. I'm not crazy about it, but that's all my mom has. So I'm going to add like a teaspoon and a half because I think it could use a little bit more vanilla flavor to it. But if you have a good Madagascar vanilla, 1 teaspoon is all you're going to need. Mix that in. See how pretty this glossy fudge looks? Look at that. Beautiful glossy fudge. Now sometimes you'll get a little separation of the oil and the fudge and it'll be kind of even look greasy. Just keep mixing it and you'll mix it right in. Now, because we have some people who like no nuts, fudge with no nuts, I'm going to go ahead and pour theirs in to a prepared pan. Remember, we buttered our pan. I'm just going to pour that in there because people who don't like nuts and fudge are nutty. I'm going to save most of this fudge for the fudge with nuts. And again, I like big chunks of nuts. Don't chop them too finely. In fact, we barely chop them. Sometimes I'll leave most of the walnuts as halves. Alright, and now we're going to quickly pour it into the other pan. And there you go. It should pour nice and smooth like this, and just mush it around with your spoon. And in the meantime, we have 2 delicious plates of fudge. I have it sitting in the cold water because the fudge is still cooking and we don't want the edges like here or the bottom part to cook too much. We don't want it to get too hard. So I just make sure that we got some cold water that's floating underneath there. And we're going to let it sit here for about 30 minutes in the cold water. And once it starts to cool, then we'll actually go ahead and score it and cut it. You can make them whatever size you want, but I like small squares. Makes us feel like we're having just a little bit of fudge instead of a lot of fudge. Of course, you always have to taste one, so I'll just pull out the little corner. That's what it looks like. Let's see if it's smooth, like we want. Smooth. Doesn't have that grainy sugar taste or feel. And delish. There you go. Fantasy fudge. No fail.